ඔෆිස් එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි මම දැන් ගෙදරදීත් IDD කෝල්ස් ගන්න SLT ෆෝන් එකේ.
ඔබේ නිවසේ SLT දුරකථනය දැන් IDD පහසුකම සහිතයි.
Making headlines on First at 9. To continue or not to continue, SLFP to decide their future in the unity government. A draft being prepared for a joint program with the UMP.
Especially SLFP supporters want the party out of this unity government.
Towards a common future. President Sirisena leaves for UK to attend Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, scheduled to meet top diplomats. World's longest potato cake. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe participates in an event targeting a world record.
These are good ways by which tourism can be promoted in.
Departing Gold Coast. Commonwealth Games 2018 ends on an emotional note. Sri Lanka bags highest medals in the history of games. Syrian crisis. The Pentagon says US strikes in Syria had successfully hit every target.
This kind of responsible behavior on the part of the powerful countries of the world can lead to major conflicts.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. With the commencement of the inter-monsoon season, over the past few days, the country has been experiencing heavy showers across several districts, with some areas to expect over 100 millilitres of rain. Today, the sluice gates of the Udawalawe Reservoir were also opened due to the inclement weather. Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli, said that measures were taken to restrict heavy vehicles travelling across the reservoir bridge due to cracks appearing on its structure.
Owing to heavy rains experienced in the area, engineers from the Department of Irrigation took measures to open all 5 sluice gates of the Udawalawe Reservoir at 10 this morning.
Heavy vehicles stopped transporting via Udawalawe Reservoir. As per the engineer given by the information, there might be several cracks being observed in those areas. So disaster management units been completely informed with all the situations, the prevailing conditions, weather conditions. So still tonight rain would be expected, and 117 call center number is completely open in 24-hour system.
Meanwhile, 16 houses in Derana, Kegol were severely damaged last evening owing to the inclement weather. According to our correspondent, electricity and telecommunication in the area were disrupted for a few hours due to strong winds experienced in the area. Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre in Kegol, Jagat Mahendra, said that steps were taken to provide relief for the affected people. Meanwhile, speaking to Ada Derana, Director General of the Department of Meteorology, Sarat Premalal, said that thunder showers are expected to continue in several parts of the country until the 18th of this month.
Even today we expect some thunder showers. Actually now we are in first inter-monsoon, and you know that these days we can expect evening thunderstorms. Now actually we are in the active phase of first inter-monsoon. So because of that, we are getting more thunder activity as well as more rain. So this will be until 18th we can expect this type of rain, but after that thunder showers may be not much strong after 18th. We can expect some heavy rain, especially that more than 100 millimeter rain, some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, and southern province.
The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting 2018 is to commence in London tomorrow. President Maithripala Sirisena left the country today to participate in the biennial summit, considered an important gathering of Commonwealth leaders.
The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting this year will be the biggest summit hosted by the United Kingdom. The Commonwealth is a diverse community of 53 nations that is home to 2.4 billion people across 6 continents. 60% of the Commonwealth population is under the age of 30 years, and it is one of the main reasons why the 53 heads of state are expected to focus on youth of their countries during this week. The meeting from 16th to 20th of April will be held under the theme Towards a Common Future.
This time it's about setting the rules and the bright ideas for the future of the 21st century, focusing in on how we manage our climate and our oceans, how we support ourselves against some of the big security challenges of this century, how we boost our prosperity through trade, and of course, how we remain fair and democratic in the process. The big themes of this summit will be about the future of the Commonwealth and young people. And those two, of course, are completely connected because we know that the interests of young people tend to become policy in 20 or 30 years' time. So young people right at the centre of this week.
President Maithripala Sirisena, who left the island this morning to participate at the meeting of Commonwealth heads of government, will have an audience with Queen Elizabeth II and also meet high-level diplomats, including the British Prime Minister Theresa May and Secretary-General of Commonwealth Patricia Scotland. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that President will address the Commonwealth Business Forum as the keynote speaker on the theme Delivering the SDGs, Aligning Business, Society and the Governments. He will then address the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting on Thursday. President Sirisena is also expected to attend a ceremony organised in line with the Queen's 92nd birthday.
Foreign Minister Chandima Weerakodi states that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party will arrive at a decision on whether to continue or not in the unity government when the party's central committee meets after party chairman President Maithripala Sirisena returns from England. On the other hand, General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Minister Mahinda Amaraweera, is adamant that the unity government will continue at any cost. In the meantime, Minister Dr. Sarath Amurugama says that a primary draft for a joint program with the United National Party is being prepared. Okay. Thanks.
During the recently held vote on the motion of no confidence against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, 16 out of the 41 Sri Lanka Freedom Party members of UPFA elected parliamentarians voted in favour of the motion. The remaining 25 SLFP parliamentarians abstained from voting. Following the vote, the 16 SLFP MPs who voted in favour of the motion against Premier stepped down from their post in the National Unity Government. Parliamentarian S.P. Disanayake, who is also among the 16 members who voted in favour of the motion, stated that he intends to sit with the opposition in the next parliamentary session. On Friday, the President, however, appointed a committee headed by Minister Dr. Sarath Amurugama to determine the SLFP's future in the National Unity Government. The committee also comprises Ministers Mahinda Amaraweera, Duminda Disanayake, Ranjit Siyambalapitiya and Mahinda Samarasinghe. It is in this backdrop that General Secretary of the UPFA, Mahinda Amaraweera, made indications that the national government will continue to move forward.
They
understood that they cannot win the no-confidence motion. Even those who brought it knew its fate. Now they are alleging that we are trying to sit with the UNP. We will never do that. I intend to give an explanation on the matter because I know the real story behind it. Many have returned to the position of parliamentarians, but the government will move forward. The President clearly affirmed that he will take the government forward. The President himself asked us to remain with the government.
Meanwhile, speaking to First at 9, MP Chandima Weerakodi stated that Sri Lanka Freedom Party will arrive at a decision whether to continue in unity government or not during a Central Committee meeting after the President returned from his tour of England.
As of now, SLFP doesn't have a mandate to continue in a national unity government because the Central Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has given approval to continue in a national unity government only up to last August. But at the request of our party leader, President His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena, we have agreed to continue in that government for a few months. But at the last Central Committee meeting, there was a proposal by us to decide as to whether the party should continue in the national unity government or not. That proposal was approved, discussed and debated, but we were not in a position to come to a final conclusion. Party Central Committee will meet up when the President arrives in the country, and at such meeting, party will have to take a decision as to whether SLFP is going to continue or rather remain in this unity government or leave that. My personal opinion is, as an elected member, people in this country, especially SLFP supporters, want the party out of this unity government and to get into the opposition to work with the people in order to form a people's friendly government.
Meanwhile, when contacted, Minister Dr. Sarath Amunugama stated that a primary draft is being documented by the committee for a common program to continue with the National Unity Government with the UNP. The minister added that the document will contain proposals on how the unity government could progress in the next 18 months. It is expected to be presented to President Maithripala Sirisena upon his return from England.
The National Hospital of Sri Lanka alone has recorded nearly 300 admissions to its accident ward due to road and domestic accidents during the past 2 days of the festive season. Director General of NHSL Dr. Kumara Wickramasinghe told First at 9 that the number of admissions due to road accidents had risen 26% this year compared to 2017.
The police headquarters stated that around 150 arrests were made in the 24 hours from 6 a.m. yesterday to 6 a.m. this morning. 140 drivers were arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol, while court cases were filed against 166 drivers for speeding and another 22 for reckless driving. The police headquarters also confirmed that 10,147 violations of motor traffic rules were monitored from across the country during the 12th and 13th of April. Meanwhile, Director General of the National Hospital of Sri Lanka, Dr. Kumara Wickramasinghe, said that an increase in admissions to NHSL was seen.
During this festival season, 379 people came to our accident service for treatment, from which 172 patients were admitted for inward care. 121 patients were admitted following injuries due to road traffic accidents. That is marked increase from the last year, about 26% increase. Injuries due to fall increased. 112 patients were admitted to the hospital following injuries sustained due to fall. And marked increase of violence has been seen. 56 people were admitted due to injuries following violence. That is about 100% increase from last year's numbers during the same period. And there are people who sustained injuries due to firecrackers. The festival season is not over yet, so we urge all to celebrate the festival peacefully.
Special public transport services will be operated for the convenience of the public travelling to Colombo from out station after the new year. Speaking to Derana, Deputy General Manager of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, R.T. Chandrasiri said that nearly 5,500 additional buses began service today. The special bus service will operate until the 25th of this month.
The Sri Lanka Transport Board commenced the second phase of public transport service during the New Year today for the convenience of the public travelling to Colombo from outstation after the New Year.
Today we started our second part of our plan. We begins from today to 25th of April, second part. We use 5,400 buses to complete this our second part. And there are two aims in this part. First one is who want to service to come urban area to rural area and rural area to urban area. The second aim is some person who comes to get our service to go there, meet relations and friends. That our main two aims.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Private Bus Owners Association, Gamunu Vijayratna, said that only 25% of private buses will be operational until Monday due to a majority of employees who reside outside of Colombo still on leave. Meanwhile, in addition to the normal train service, the Department of Railways announced that a special train services will be made available until the 17th of this month for the convenience of public returning to Colombo. A special train service began from the Fort Railway Station to Bandaravela at 7:20 p.m. today. A special train service from Jaffna to Fort Railway Station was also made available at 8 p.m.
One of the key traditions of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year is yet to be observed at its auspicious time falls tomorrow. Anointing of oil for the New Year, a traditional practice to wish for health and long life, is also observed as a national event. The custom of anointing oil for this New Year should be observed while clad in white and facing north, with wood apple leaves placed on the head and imbu leaves at the feet, at the auspicious time of 10:16 a.m. tomorrow. The National Oil Anointing Ceremony will take place tomorrow at 10:16 a.m. at Attanagalla Purana Rajamahaviharaya under the patronage of Speaker Karujai Surya and Health Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne. Several other ceremonies are also planned across the island. Meanwhile, speaking to us, senior lecturer at the University of Colombo, Dr. Mahesh Rajasurya explained the importance of the ritual.
It's another ritual or part of the New Year celebrations that bring the whole community together. This probably symbolizes the community feeling that we have in our culture opposed to in certain cultures in developed world, and perhaps it also symbolizes the connection we have with nature.
The Derana New Year festival, dubbed Badulupura Surya Mangalya, was worked off in Badulla today. The star-studded festival featured many traditional games and ends with a musical show.
The Badulupura Surya Mangalya New Year Festival, organised by TV Derana, the Harin Fernando Foundation, the Badulla District Secretariat and the Badulla Divisional Secretariat, began at the Badulla Football Stadium this morning. The inaugural event of the festival was the men's and women's marathon. A men's and women's cross-village bicycle race was also organised. While many other traditional New Year games were arranged, the event also featured a number of performances by the students in the area.
අනිවාර්යෙන් ඔන්න කමේ ජය විශ්ව මෙන්න ජය මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි කවා දින්නේ ඔව් අද ඉහළට ඔසවලා බොහොම සතුට ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා අපි උණුසුම් සුබ පැතුම් ඔබට අන්න බලන්න සකි මෙන්න බලන්න සකි
It has been an absolute pleasure joining with Derana in celebrating this Aurudu season with the locals here in Badulla. I would also like to wish all of the locals and people watching at home a very happy New Year and a prosperous year ahead.
Firstly, we thank Derana TV to organize this program, Badulla Surya Udana in Badulla.
Let's now take a look at some of the emerging stories across Sri Lanka.
Newly appointed permanent representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations in Geneva, ALA Aziz presented credentials to the Director General of the United Nations Office in Geneva, Michael Moller. Welcoming the new permanent representative, Director General Moller enlightened him of the diverse areas in which his office remained engaged in Geneva and highlighted many initiatives, including the Gender Equality Campaign and the UN Strategic Heritage Plan among priorities. A man residing in the area of Kudavella in Valigadia killed his wife today, following which he committed suicide by hanging himself.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
If there's one thing Nuwara is known for, it is its vegetable cultivation. With a view of promoting the city as a tourist destination, a hotel in Nuwara attempted to set a new world record by creating the world's longest potato cake. The event was presided by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is currently on vacation in the city.
A potato cake which measured at 111 meters and weighing 380 kilograms was unveiled at a special ceremony in Nuwara under the auspices of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was given the honour of cutting the cake with an unusual and daring utensil, a sword.
Nuwara is as famous in Sri Lanka for its potatoes and its vegetables as it's for tea, but this is not known in many other areas. So by promoting the potato cake, the Nuwara potato also gets its place in the sun, because very soon, in addition to these three products, there will be the strawberries from Nuwara. This is the season, and I understand the hotels have got together to have ice carving competition as well as their chefs cooking together. These are good ways by which tourism can be promoted in Nuwara, and I hope other cities and regions will also make example of Nuwara is doing.
as the Colombo Stock Exchange will reopen for trading tomorrow after the New Year holiday. Analysts expect the equity market to be positive as Sri Lanka raised 66% higher than expected from the international sovereign bond issue on the 11th of April. However, analysts expect market activity to remain low due to the festive season.
On Thursday, the all-share price index closed the holiday-shortened trading week 0.51% higher at 6,483.92, its highest close since March 19th. The index gained 0.44% last week. During the week, the ASPI gained 0.44%, mainly due to price gains in counters such as Lanka Oryx Leasing Company, Sri Lanka Telecom and Commercial Bank. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 increased by 0.55%. Average daily turnover for the week was down from last week to 522 million rupees. Furthermore, foreigners remained active for the week, closing as net sellers, where foreign sales accounted for 60% of the total week turnover. A net foreign outflow of nearly 466 million rupees was recorded for the week. This resulted in the year-to-date net foreign outflow to increase to 1.3 billion rupees. We spoke to Dimantha Matthew from First Capital Holdings for a forecast of market operations in the new week.
We expect market to be on a positive note with the positive news on the sovereign bond. Sri Lanka raised about $2.5 billion from the sovereign bond, 66% higher than the initial plan of $1.5 billion. We expect renewed investor confidence with the news on the sovereign bond and the political uncertainty also easing off, bringing some stability to the system. As a result, we expect investors to be on a positive note, and foreign buying interest is also likely to remain in the market. However, with the festive season, activity levels are likely to remain low. Activity levels are likely to be dominated, however, by the blue chip counters.
US President Donald Trump said the United States would only join the Trans-Pacific Partnership if it offered substantially better terms than those provided under previous negotiations. Trump had told Republican senators last Thursday that he had asked United States Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and White House Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow to reopen negotiations. President Donald Trump's comments on joining the Trans-Pacific Partnership made on Twitter late last Thursday came only hours after he had unexpectedly indicated the United States might rejoin the landmark pact and amid heightened volatility in financial markets as Washington locked horns with China in a bitter trade dispute. However, policymakers in the Asia-Pacific region responded to the possibility of the US rejoining the trade deal with skepticism. Trump, who had opposed multilateral trade pacts in his election campaign in 2016 and criticized the TPP as a horrible deal, pulled out the US out of the pact last year. The Pentagon said yesterday that US strikes in Syria overnight had successfully hit every target and were aimed to deliver an unambiguous signal to the Syrian government and deter the future use of chemical weapons. President Donald Trump has warned Syria's government the US is locked and loaded to strike again if it carries out new chemical attacks.
US President Donald Trump issued a threat to the Syrian government yesterday, saying that the US is locked and loaded to launch more strikes if chemical weapons were to be used again. The warning came after the US, UK and France struck 3 Syrian sites in response to a suspected deadly chemical attack in the town of Douma a week ago. Syria denies any chemical use and says that the attack was fabricated by rebels. There was a bitter exchange at a UN Security Council emergency meeting yesterday as Russia sought to secure a condemnation of early morning airstrikes by Western powers. A UN Security Council vote brought by Syria's ally Russia, condemning the US-led strikes, was eventually rejected. The Russian Ministry of Defense said last Friday that it has enough evidence showing that a planned provocation was carried out in the case of an alleged chemical attack in the Syrian town of Douma on April 7th. The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons began investigating the use of chemical weapons in Syria's eastern Ghouta yesterday, and Russian officials said it expects the investigation to be objective. Western forces struck Syria with more than 100 missiles in the first coordinated Western strikes against the Damascus government. Buildings said to be a part of a scientific research center in the Damascus district of Bazaar were severely damaged following the airstrikes. As countries around the world are voicing mixed opinions on the matter, some agreeing and others condemning, First at 9 spoke to international affairs analyst Mohan Samaranayaka for his thoughts on the situation in Syria.
Last Saturday's missile attack on Syria by the US, UK and France trio is a criminal violation of international law. It is an act of aggression. It is nothing but naked imperialism. If, as alleged, Syria has used chemical weapons against civilians or rebels, which is internationally wrong, there is a mechanism to deal with it. That mechanism is the United Nations Security Council. According to the UN Charter, no country, how powerful it may be, has the right to attack another sovereign nation. If there is a violation of the international law, it is the Security Council that should deal with it. But in this case, these three powerful countries have taken law in their hand and attacked a sovereign nation. United Nations Charter says, specifically emphasize that a country can use force against another only in the case of self-defense. But here it is not a case of self-defense, it is an aggression. No country can use force against another country, and also threat of force also is prohibited by the UN Charter. This kind of responsible behavior on the part of the powerful countries of the world can lead to major conflicts. Such a conflict necessarily will become a nuclear confrontation. Therefore, all countries which are peaceful, law-binding countries must act responsibly and according to the international law, which is as enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations and other international conventions.
Former FBI Director James Comey says his belief that Hillary Clinton would win the 2006 US presidential election played a role in the way he handled the investigation into her use of a private email server as Secretary of State. Comey told ABC News in an interview that he was operating in a world where Hillary Clinton was going to beat Donald Trump. The interview is tied to the release of Comey's book, A High Loyalty, Truth, Lies and Leadership.
Former FBI Director James Comey decided to go public with the Bureau's 2016 investigation into Hillary Clinton's email, in part because he wanted to prevent the former Secretary of State from being perceived as illegitimate if she prevailed in the general election. In May last year, President Trump fired James Comey, abruptly terminating the top official leading a criminal investigation into whether Trump's advisors colluded with the Russian government to steer the outcome of the 2016 presidential election. Trump explained the firing by citing Comey's handling of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server, even though the president was widely seen to have benefited politically from that inquiry. The former FBI director in July of 2016 said he would not recommend charges in the investigation of Clinton's email practices, but in a controversial move told Congress just days before the election that the FBI was reviewing additional emails in relation to the investigation. In a clip released by ABC News, George Stephanopoulos asks Comey about his motivations in revealing that information to Congress.
Because I was operating in a world where Hillary Clinton was going to beat Donald Trump. And so I'm sure that it was a factor. Like I said, I don't remember spelling it out, but it had to have been that she's going to be elected president. And if I hide this from the American people, she'll be illegitimate the moment she's elected, the moment this comes out.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
The Gold Coast Games came to an emotional close with songs and poetry about history, unity, equality and inclusivity before the flag was passed to Birmingham, the host of the 2022 edition of the Commonwealth Games. Sri Lanka were able to win 6 medals in total, making it the most medals won by the island in the history of Commonwealth Games.
80 athletes from Sri Lanka, headed by Chintana Vidanage, participated at this year's Commonwealth Games, the 21st edition of the Games held in Gold Coast, Australia. The first day of the Games saw Chaturanga Lakmal win a bronze medal in the men's 56 kg weightlifting category. On the same day, Dinusha Gomez won the bronze medal in the women's 48 kg weightlifting category. On the second day, recording Sri Lanka's highest achievement in the games, Indika Disanayake won the silver medal in the men's 69 kg weightlifting category. Just as the Sri Lankan weightlifters were able to win 3 medals, the boxers representing the country were able to achieve 3 medals as well. Anusha Kodituaku won the bronze medal in the women's boxing 45 to 48 kg weight category, making it the highest achievement by a Sri Lankan woman boxer. Tivanka Ranasinghe won the bronze medal in the men's boxing 46 to 49 kg weight category, while Ishan Bandara won bronze in the 52 kg weight category. In the end, Sri Lanka were ranked 31st out of the 71 in the medals category, with 1 silver medal and 5 bronze medals at this year's Commonwealth Games. The 21st Commonwealth Games held in Gold Coast, Australia came to an end today with a colourful closing ceremony. The Gold Coast passed on the Commonwealth flag to Birmingham, the host city of the 2022 Games.
Up next is your weather forecast.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Your temperatures for tomorrow will vary between 21 and 32 degrees Celsius. Light precipitation will prevail in most parts of the island during the day. However, we can expect a low pressure zone to develop in the southern region of the island in the evening. Thunder showers can be expected in the districts of Mannar, Trincomalee, Anuradhapura and Batticaloa, with a few showers also expected in Jaffna, Vavuniya and Puttalam. Heavy showers accompanied by lightning can be expected in the districts of Colombo, Kandy, Galle and Kalmune.
And that's all we have from First at 9 tonight. Going back to yesterday, the whole of Sri Lanka celebrated the dawn of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. And these are some of those moments we at Ada Derana captured as people took part in traditional practices throughout this festive season. We hope you enjoyed these visuals. Have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Ada Derana 24/7.